Let's go over to the House, which about 45 minutes ago passed Speaker Boehner's debt plan. We're now joined by Texas Republican Congressman and presidential hopeful Ron Paul. As always, Mr. Paul, welcome back to the program. I read a piece in the Daily Caller today. You want to say no to business as usual, status quo empowering compromise to raise the debt ceiling. You are opposed to any debt ceiling increases. With all respect, isn't that irresponsible? How can we operate without more borrowing?
Of course, that's why I want to stop the borrowing. I think it's irresponsible to keep borrowing. If you have a debt problem, how do you solve the debt problem by raising the debt? See, that doesn't make any sense to me. And it's a spending problem, and the Congress and the people don't want us to really quit spending. Anytime you have a token little cut, they yell and scream. So this crisis is going to evolve. I think, everybody's talking about the default, but there's not going to be any default in the sense that we're not going to send the checks out and pay the interest. That's going to happen. That's not. You look at the bonds today; they did quite well. Interest rates are going down. Nobody's worrying about it. But the default comes when we just print the money and pass it out, and the default comes because people are going to lose their purchasing power of the dollar, and that's where the real problem is coming.
I just want to circle back though, because you've got 100 million checks being mailed, and yes, you could cover the interest on the debt. I fully agree with you, and the government bond market is trading very nicely off of the recessionary forecast, 275%. But what about the 100 million checks? That's the position you'd put in. Social Security, health care, veterans, pensions, the military troops fighting, the FBI. In other words, if you don't raise the debt ceiling at all, you would wreak havoc on the budget, havoc on the states, havoc on the cities. I just don't see how you can take that position, Mr. Paul.
And Larry, you know something about runaway inflation, severe inflation. You remember the 1970s. I think you were in Washington at the time. Remember, the dollar was under attack. We went hat in hand to the IMF and got $30 billion, equivalent to $300 billion to bail out our dollar. So we were on the rocks then, and that was a bailout again. And in a way, it was a default during that year when we reneged on our promises to pay with the Bretton Woods Agreement. So yes, I think it's much worse to do what we're doing, continue to spend, and usher in an age when all the checks bounce, and that is going to be much worse. You have to have priorities, and if Congress doesn't give the president priorities on how to pay the bills, the president, I believe, has the prerogative of picking and choosing and spending the money as it comes in, and face up to the fact that we are bankrupt. To deny that we're not bankrupt is a big problem, and it will usher in this age of just endless spending and endless debt. You cannot solve the problem of debt by accumulating more debt. You would never tell an individual that's way over their head, with credit card, oh, well, what you need is more debt, and you're going to be happy. The country can't do it either.
All right, let me ask you this, Congressman. In your campaign, will you actually put out a blueprint plan for a balanced budget in 10 years? Because I know the balanced budget amendment is in the new House plan. I understand that. But the odd thing to me, as a former budget official, is I have never seen anybody put on paper a plan that gets us to zero on the deficit in 10 years. Will you have such a plan on your campaign trail?
Well, I can make it very simple. Let's just freeze the budget. Give everybody this year what they got last year, and it would finally balance probably in less time than that. So that would be a pretty good blueprint, and why should anybody scream? Do you know, Larry, how much spending, even under the Boehner plan, the spending is going up over $1 trillion. So all these cuts are fictitious. They're only cuts in the CBO projected increases. So it's all a fraud. It's all this talk. We know this is all a political gamesmanship. This bill has nothing to do with solving the problem.
I agree with you, sir, but it's the balanced budget plan. I want to see one on paper. Anyway, Congressman Paul, we're out of time, but I appreciate your time very much this evening. Good luck on the campaign.
All right.
As we continue our live coverage of the House vote on the Boehner bill coming up.